Blog Talk Radio.
At this pivotal time in humanity's evolution, we are beginning to remember our organic technology. A technology, when used correctly, can create an experience that the majority of the people the world over want to live. It is time to use this technology consciously for our own benefit and healing, and no longer unconsciously for our own demise. We are divine creators, creating both our own personal experience and our collective experience moment to moment. We invite you to join us as we reawaken this technology to experiment and experience our power to create and manifest. Become part of the 3%.
Oh, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. This is Harrison, and it is a freezing morning. So, excuse me, I'm all wrapped up and sitting here free still. So, excuse me. Welcome to the TCI show, Collective Imagination. We do have quite a few guests for today's show, covering a variety of subjects today. So, it's a full show. So we'll get right into it. Welcome to Brian.
Thank you, Lisa. Glad to be here. It is overcast here in San Diego today, but looking forward to the show. Thanks for having me.
You sound very...
I'm busy.
You're busy. Okay. Still giggling though. That's good.
Not too busy.
And welcome, Chris.
Hi, everybody. It's same. I've got the same weather as Lisa, actually, probably a touch colder. Actually had frost on the ground all over the place this morning and a bit of fog. So it's really crisp, and we had a really pleasant walk out in the really crisp air. It was very nice. So I'm all set up for a great show. Glad you could all make it.
And Bobby.
Hello. Hello, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And it's hot.
No, bugger off.
I know you guys are going through your winter. It's just...
I just came from the desert to this. It's not pleasant.
It must be horrible, but we just had the air conditioning on.
Yeah, well, I've got fires going. Yeah, I've got the fire burning. So. Okay, we do have a young couple that are going to join us shortly to explain their story, and I feel it's an example of what I wanted to talk about today, which was quite the coincidence, because Chris organised them to come on the show, and it fell in quite nicely. And what I wanted to talk about was, it's hard to explain it actually. I haven't really put it into words yet, so bear with me. But on the way home from Morocco, I spent a lot of time thinking, an awful lot of time thinking, and looking back over the last 12 months in particular, and how what we've been doing individually and collectively. Because I really feel like we're on the verge right now, as we discussed, God, was that only yesterday's show, that, you know, it feels like we're on the brink of phase 2. So I was sort of looking back over what phase 1 was all about. And the OPPT filings between July and December last year, what we saw since then, since December of last year, is really the process of the result of those filings becoming visible within the hierarchical structure. We saw lots of evidence of the ripples of them going through the system. There was a process for us personally to bring ourselves up to speed in a very 3D educational sense about the layout, the structure, the mechanisms of the system. It opened a lot of people's eyes to the fact that it's not just a bunch of conspiracy theories, because if you understood the filings and what they did, then you had to understand why they were necessary. So there was that going on, but there was also, for me, probably the biggest part was that declaration of satisfaction, because if you really believe it is what it says it is, and I personally do, because For me, it's just the 3D written lawful notice of everything that the indigenous, all of the prophecies have been talking about, that we were at the end of an age and the beginning of a new one. And that Declaration of Satisfaction talks about the end of all contracts, basically. It's the end of everything that we came into this incarnation with, we were now free from. We had satisfied not only our own personal contracts, interesting Freudian slip there, yeah, but also the one that we have with Source itself. And when you look around, people have made some major changes in their lives, whether they've done it consciously and by choice, or whether they feel like they've been the result of circumstance and they've gone through them kicking and screaming. But I've seen relationships turned upside down. So many relationships breaking up. There have been people like Brian who just get up and walk away from jobs and careers, to people coming out sexually. Bob seems to be surrounded by those. And everyone coming to I feel like everyone's been maneuvering to get themselves where they need to be, who they need to be with, in preparation for phase 2 that we're moving into now. And it's a big part of this process is letting go of attachments. That's been my own personal experience, but it's also been my observation of others' experiences. And I kind of went through that in a super drive way while I was in Morocco. For others, it's been a process over 6 months, but this is the conversation I wanted to have today, and see if we can't get some of you to talk about your own experiences. Bob, you've had so many people around you seemingly turn their lives upside down from the old paradigm's perspective.
Yeah. It's almost like people reach a point where they just say, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they reach a point in their lives where they've just literally had enough of whatever situation that they may be in. It may be relationships, it may be careers, and it may be just the place that they live, their environment. But people are making huge changes, like, leaving their jobs, changing relationships, changing location, opening up to be themselves authentically, because people are finding a very, very hard time doing something their heart's not in anymore.
But they're making decisions that, from the old paradigm's perspective and from those people around them, they look like crazy decisions.
You know what it feels like, Lisa?
It
feels like suddenly the heart's desire became more important than logic.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Their heart's desire is that energy that's coming through the earth right now is activating everything. And somebody.
Sorry, Bethany, can you mute?
It's either firecrackers or violent popcorn.
Attack of the violent popcorn. Yeah.
No, that's actually a router.
Screaming.
That's actually a router crashing.
Oh,
wow,
that's not good. Okay.
Theoretically, you just reset the router, but we'll see what happens at Bethany's end. Okay, she's jumping on with Sidney, who's our other guest, so they should be okay on the same machine.
Okay.
Cool. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it's activating people in their hearts, and people are finding it very, very uncomfortable doing things that their heart isn't in anymore. And even if it defies logic, they're leaving their jobs, they're leaving their relationships. They're moving, to different locations, changing complete, careers, dropping out of school. It's happening all across the board, and it's profound. I remember that Zeitgeist Addendum, and in the end of the movie they show everybody, walking down the street, and they kind of come out of their fog and realize, like, what am I doing? And they drop their briefcases, and they just stop.
Yeah.
That's what I see happening.
What I noticed too is, because, when I left my job, I walked around the office and everyone asked me, they're like, oh, well, what new job are you going to? It's like, well, I don't have one yet. And they're like, well, you're leaving your salary, you're leaving your, your health insurance, your 401k or whatever, all the things that, that mean absolutely nothing to me anymore, but they just don't understand it. And I think that what's happening right now is, on a deeper level, people are really starting to come to the realization that the new paradigm models of these things that we call jobs, relationships, whatever it might be, they're going through a complete and total metamorphosis. So there's people that are hanging on right now and they just, they can feel it. They know that something doesn't feel right. They know they're unhappy. They know they need to make a change, but for whatever reason they feel stuck. And those people are now coming out more and more in droves because they realize that this old rules don't apply any longer in where we're going. And so it's a quickening, I feel, that we're in now. I mean, Brittany, my fiancée, that this is her last week at work. She put in her 2-week notice a week ago, and Friday is her last day, and she doesn't have a job to go to either. But she, like so many others out there, are realizing that no matter if it sounds like the right idea or not, if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't sit well, then we are the masters of our own destiny, and we in every moment have a choice to either stay feeling stuck or make a change. And I think if there is a barometer to keep track of all the people that this is happening to, I mean, it'd be off the freaking charts, off the Richter scale right now, if we could see it on a scale. And it's through all cultures, through all races, sex, creed, doesn't matter. It's happening everywhere, and it's fascinating to watch. And when you hear the stories, it was funny, we were in Morocco, everybody shared their stories of how this applies to whatever people that are in their surrounding. I mean, Bob had some of the most fascinating. I was like back to back, all these people running to Bob and spilling their guts with the changes that they're making. But it's unreal, it's surreal, and it's unreal to witness it and to watch it and to be a part of it and experience it with the people, because I know what it feels like, and it's so liberating to finally let go of something that doesn't fit. You don't keep that old ratty sweatshirt in your closet that hasn't fit you for years. Do you keep that thing in your closet, or do you take it down to the Goodwill? I'm in the just put it out in the street and burn it mode right now. Cut it all.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Look, lots of folks are doing it. They're just walking away from things they've been involved with their entire lives. Just saying, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. And look, the couple that we have with us today actually have done that in the last couple of weeks. I'll let them tell their story. This is Bethany in Sydney. I'll bring on Bethany first, because Bethany was the one who came to me and said, hey, we've got to talk about what's happening to us. We're manifesting like crazy, was the exact term she used. And as the story evolved, it was not just Bethany, but Bethany actually finding and establishing a relationship with, at a distance, and then personally with a new partner. And it's all rather extraordinary because it happened in a very short period of time. So, Bethany, how are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Now, people will recognise Bethany's voice. She's been on the One People show at least once, talking about the absolute data exchange, because she's a big researcher for the data mining they're doing. But this is a completely different side of Bethany. So, Bethany, do you want to tell us how it began with yourself and Sydney?
Sure. Well, this is not the first time we've met in this lifetime, but I will start off. I was in Minnesota, and I was married, and I was not happy. And so we met in dreaming first, and then we met online. And then as soon as we met, it was like we were instantly manifesting things. So I needed to pay for rent to be able to get out of where I was. So we ended up manifesting around $600 within a couple hours. And then I manifested a place to stay the next day so I could get out of where I was. And then I ended up manifesting a ticket to Seattle, which is where Sydney, or where we both are now, but where he was. And we did that in a couple days. And then we manifested a place to live for free till the end of the month. And that we're just getting started.
And did you actually have any money yourself at the start of this process?
I have no money, nothing. I started.
So this was all manifesting from scratch.
Yep.
Are you saying that when the two of you got together, your ability to manifest just was amped up?
Yeah, it was like instantaneously. Yep.
Wow.
Well, I lived in Seattle for all of last year, and then I had to move back south of Seattle beginning of March of 2013, and I was kind of forced to be in a very nature seclusive area, and I was spending a lot of time in deep meditation where I would not be conscious and I would be asleep, but I feel like I was honing my craft, and every time Bethany was able to manifest money for rent, I would be passed out, and she wouldn't have any contact with me, and I would wake up in excruciating pain, and then I would hear from her, and she would tell me what happened, and we just figured out that we were manifesting on a spiritual level through our eternal essence.
What do you mean by excruciating pain?
Well, I'm a psychic, and I'm more than a psychic. I'm a kind of a yogi that uses my body as a technology to manifest my reality. And the only thing that I could kind of identify that with is just that my body was clearing away the dross, clearing away the old, and I've been learning a lot about just how I have to let go of my old values and my old systems and my old thoughts in order to manifest something new.
So, Bethany, am I correct in my understanding that you went from being married in a different state to 12 days later being in Seattle with Sydney and sort of feeling like this is the love of your life?
Yeah, it was like we weren't getting along, we weren't happy, but we were like holding on to our old things. We felt like we were stuck, like we didn't have any other options or any other choices. And then I had a dream with Sydney in the dream, and then I woke up and I knew that Steve and I were done. And then I started connecting with him on the different levels and the different planes, and then we met physically a couple months after that.
And at that time, I was a mystery person to her, and she only felt a strong connection to me. And so the first day that we talked on the internet, we talked for several hours, and then I went to bed, and as I was laying in bed, I had a vision, a very real physical vision of me and Bethany, and that was the first day we spoke on the computer. And so I felt compelled to tell her the next day, and right when I told her, she responded by saying you're freaking me out. And then she told me about the dream she had a couple months back, and then we started to really become honest with each other. We just talked about what was going on with us, and we started seeing the dots connect within our lives. Everything in our lives are very much identical to each other, the way that our lives have been put together so that we can come together and recognize our soul essence.
I wanted to talk about the energetics about you two coming together, because we experienced something very similar when our group got together. The energetics of us physically, being in that same space, it almost created, it did create a completely different reality for all of us. Almost like a pocket of reality was created for us, in which we got to experience what people would, outside of that bubble, would call miraculous. Things as a matter of course. It was happening daily, hourly. And it's incredible. And I think that's kind of what's happening with people in their movement. They're moving where they're energetically fit in. And they're creating, something new, something different that they hadn't experienced before by the combination of those energetics. And I think that's really, really important, what's going on energetically.
Yeah, Bob, you're right. And this whole story is just a little illustration for our audience to understand that the old paradigm of status, of having a job, of having a married spouse are illusions, and the real reality that we're experiencing post 2012 is really about us learning who we really are, and this goes into ascension and talks about expanding consciousness. And what we're really doing is we're removing ourselves away from the little me, the little body figure that we believe we are to be, and we're expanding that idea towards I'm also Bethany, I'm also Chris, I'm also Lisa, I'm Brian, I'm Bob, I'm all the people, all of humanity, all of mankind, even the earth, even the plants and the animals. And so as we expand our consciousness outwards into others and other beings, we are feeling the pains of moving past those limitations.
Well, if anybody's ever, taken psychedelic mushrooms, or DMT, which Terrence McKenna recommends highly, the experience that they have, a lot of times, I believe, because you become very extra sensitive to energetics, you're very, very, very conscious when something that is of a lower vibration comes in your area. And the people who you're with affect that feeling very much. I think we're entering into a period of time that's becoming the norm. Yes. People are becoming very sensitive to the energies that are around them, and certain things just become very uncomfortable for them. And if you're not of a coherent vibration, you leave. Or something happens in your life to take you out of that space. And those who are, feeling it or are consciously aware of it are purposely, completely, drastically changing their lives. And here, to hear your story, to make all the changes that you guys made, and what you told us in less than a year, that's remarkable.
Well, it actually happened. We met on June 1st online, and then within 3 days we started becoming a couple, and then she manifested a ticket on the 4th day, and then on the 12th day we met. And so
1/12 of 1 year, not even. Hey, let me ask you guys real quick. This is Brian. Did you guys happen to meet in one of the Skype rooms, or was it on Facebook? Because I know how active Bethany is, and with all the posts that she posts out there. I know you don't know Bethany, but I'm watching.
Yeah, it was on Facebook, Brian.
Facebook, very cool. You know, it's I love hearing stories.
Strikes
like this.
again.
Facebook strikes again. The beginner and the ender of so many relationships. You know, when Bob was talking about, you know, because I'm not afraid to admit it. I was in college once. I did all those psychedelic drugs and just took psychedelic mushrooms and did DMT, and the sensation that you get is as if you've transcended the construct. You've transcended the matrix. And it's almost like you can look down into it, like as if it's a bubble, and the illusions all of a sudden become something that you don't have to weed through a bunch of internet or, you know, YouTube videos to find. It's just visible. It's just right there. And, you know, if there's an illustration of the time that we're in right now, is that we're approaching a time where you're not going to need to take psychedelic drugs in order to be able to sense and feel and experience that feeling that, man, so much of what's going on out there, it's all a function, it's all a manifestation of something that we all collectively created, that now we are all coming together to collectively create something new. I think that's probably part of the reason why the Declaration of Satisfaction was so powerful to so many, is that you're actually seeing this, you know, this document that's illustrating something that we all inherently felt and had been talking about and had been experiencing in a myriad of different ways. And now, you know, here we are coming into a time, you know, circa the middle of 2013, where so much of this is all becoming visible. And what a perfect illustration it is to hear the story, Bethany and Sidney, of when you get into that zone, when you get into that flow of creation, it just happens. You know, you just know it's going to, so it does. I mean, we talked about this before with Bob and his ticket to get out to the. I can't imagine what the desert would have been like without Bob there. I don't think any of us could have. You know, so, and the more you sink into that flow of creation, the more confidence you build in it, and the more fluid and natural it just becomes as just a part of reality, and it's not so much magic anymore. It's just the way.
I mean, you guys are also a perfect example of, I mean, I feel like, as I said earlier, that we're being maneuvered to be where we need to be and who we need to be with for this next phase. And there are soul groups, perhaps, or soul families coming together all over the planet. And this particular one, with us individuals here, have done that very publicly by meeting up together in Morocco. But that's what this particular group feels like, and I know this is happening all over the planet. And you guys are another example of that. And because you know that your connection is perhaps very old, very deep. Yeah. It's not a superficial attraction.
Right.
You know, I had made the comment while we were out in Morocco to the group that, you know, when I first came into my awakening and I was basically kicked out of my church, that I had lost all of the friends that I had known when I was growing up, and it's so hard. I thought it was impossible to make new old friends. And then I met those guys, which was our first meeting, but we were definitely old friends. And that's exactly what it felt like. I can't explain, you know, it felt like I was with my family again. And
it actually felt like all we did was just pick up a conversation that we'd had many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And just picked up right where we left off.
Yeah. And just observing it from back here in the rest of the world, you guys literally created your own little reality bubble.
Yeah.
And it must have, the rest of reality must have seemed very distant.
It kind
unreal
of still
compared
does.
to the reality you're.
That's the weird. It still does. Like we are all adjusting right now, I think, to coming back to, I don't even know what it is, what we call it that we came back to.
Just don't say the real world, please, Bob.
Yeah, that's not the real world.
Yeah, all you can really call it is the other reality.
The other reality.
Because there's no real this is no more real than that. It's just this reality or that reality.
Right. It's as though we're observing something, and the group consciousness observes, the real world to be real reality, and your group went to the Sahara Desert and you were observing the same experiences. And I've had a mantra that said that everything in my life happens for a reason, and I always try to learn from what I'm experiencing in the now moment. And when I started to really be honest with, if I'm experiencing this, it means I'm experiencing it for an important reason for my own soul growth, is towards kind of just forgiving what I have been afraid of as a human within my human lives in my past lifetimes. And as I was able to release my fears, I was able to come closer to my real observation and the reality that I chose to be my highest good.
I think when it comes to manifesting, that release of fear is so important, because I think people, they focus so much on how. How am I going to do this? How is this going to be possible? And when they don't see the answer to that question, how, then they start to panic, they worry. And it's that very worry, that panic, that keeps them from actually manifesting what it is that they want. You don't think about the how.
No.
It's
For when I needed to get run paid, I was so stressed out and so worried about it because I haven't had a job for like 3 or 4 months now. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And I don't like to ask for help. I had like this block in me that was saying, you don't need to ask for help. You can just do it by yourself. You've always done it by yourself. You just do it by yourself. And so I started venting about it in the Skype room, and people were like, hey, let us help you, and then it like removed this huge block in me, and then everything else just started happening and flowing like instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a really, really, you represent a huge class of people that have a really hard time asking for help. Because it comes from the sense, it counters your sense of independence. Like, I've been independent so long, I've always done it on my own. I don't want handouts, I don't want freebies, but it's such a balance. So many of us are so comfortable giving, and we have such a hard time receiving, and that is a total disruption of the flow. If you're so good at giving but you just can't receive, it's like a blockage that's put in the circle of life. And it's such a
we're actually denying somebody else the joy of giving.
Yeah, exactly. So being able to just have gratitude, to allow yourself to open up to somebody who wants to help, or somebody that wants to assist, or whatever it might be, is such, it's such a liberating feeling, because I was the same way, and once you kind of get into that release, that surrender, that it's okay to allow somebody else the opportunity to help you. God, it feels so damn good, because people are on the ready. There's so many people that are just like, I just want to help. I just want to help people, and all they want is to be given an opportunity. And it feels so good to actually be able to give that to them, because they walk away from that so rewarded that they were able to give their heart and share it with another. So good for you to be able to overcome that resistance.
Yeah, it's just like my heart, I could just feel it like growing and expanding. It was so big, I was like crying and smiling and laughing. And
feels good, huh?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, Sydney, you said you had some quotes you wanted to share that you felt aptly wrapped up and explained what you were trying to explain in regards to your own story.
Well, I pulled up a quote from Monty P, and I think this ties up perfectly just how the powers that were instilled and programmed within the consciousness of our beings to be fearful. And I'll just read the 3 paragraphs, and I'll just begin now. So much knowledge has been kept from you about planet Earth that when the prison walls are removed, you will see for the first time the Earth in all its glory and all its beauty, and you will be enthralled. We are doing our utmost to bring all this about without too much disruption. We need you to work with us and to stand for truth and justice wherever possible. The corruption began in what is now known as the Vatican. It will end when its corruption is fully exposed and understood by those who blindly accept what the Vatican has decreed to be truth. It believes it controls your planet and all the life on it. Through the act of baptism, you give them this power, but there is no truth in what they teach. The real truth is so simple. Go into your hearts, for it is there, waiting to be discovered. Love is what you need to guide you, and it will do so. Leave the hellfire and damnation where it belongs, in the Vatican, where it was created by evil minds to ensure that you followed its commandments out of fear. You are many, they are few. All their secret societies are being laid bare before you, exposing their control system, thus enabling you to see the signs all around you of who these people are and what they have controlled up until now. It was all hidden in plain sight. You just failed to recognize the signs. Now that you are awake and aware, you cannot be fooled again. They have everything to lose. You, on the other hand, have everything to gain, namely peace, justice, and harmony, with love guiding the way forward, bringing humanity together again.
Monty, preaching to the choir.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff, Monty.
I want to thank you guys for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Bob.
And
Thank you, Chris.
congratulations on finding each other.
Thank you for coming, yes.
Yeah, good work. And thanks. The amazing thing is that you both knew exactly what to do, and you did it.
Yes.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. And Lisa, just before we press on to the next guests, I do have two quick announcements to do.
Yes.
One relates directly to what we were talking about, which is BZ Rieger, the webmaster from the IUV website, who's now installed in her new premises and doing well, and wishing to thank everybody who put in their energy and their time to helping her. She's staying with Cheryl, who's also a light worker. Julian helped move her stuff, and it all just worked. So it's another great story. And the other is just a matter of reminding people, if they want to volunteer to write articles for that website, if you go to the Home tab on the IUV website and pull it down, you'll see a volunteers entry at the top of the menu. Drop in there and fill yourself in on the sorts of things that the team are looking for, which is essentially people to contribute articles, relating to the topics that we all know, and they would just want to expand their crew on the website. Doing a great job, fantastic job, those guys. They tell me they're going to change the website again somewhat. So,
okay.
Huge.
I just have to say that
I have an announcement to make. The IUV web team is looking for a volunteer, specifically a web contributing writer.
That's what I was talking about. That's the announcement, Bob.
Oh, okay.
It's for writers and articles of interest thereafter.
I have one quick announcement too. The IUV web team is looking for a writer to do.
Really, Brian?
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry, Bob.
You're not sorry, Brian.
I'm glad we covered that.
All right.
Is that it for announcements then?
Yep, that's it.
Anybody else want to jump in? No. Okay. Do you want me to bring your friend out now with his song, Brian?
Oh, is he in the caller queue?
Well, I do have an area
503?
code. I can see a 503. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want.
Let's see. Area code 503. Is that you, Super? What was it? Ken?
Super Ken.
Oh, it's not a good line. Yeah. Okay. Super Ken, I'm going to mute you again.
Hey, Ken, you got to call in from another line, my man. Bad connection. I'm going to Facebook him right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a little bit, yes.
I'm going to Facebook him.
Oh, actually, while we're on the subject of announcements, 5D Media Network's Facebook page is looking for someone who can be a social media manager. So if you know social media and you're interested in helping us out with the 5D Media Network Facebook page, please go to the page and send us a message because we're in need of some help. Thank you very much. Now, we've got two ladies who are going to join us in a moment. One of the things they'll be talking about is the consciousness of salt. Now, when Heather first brought out the idea that the gold is conscious and wants to play, it actually opened up a lot of us to understanding the consciousness of everything and all of the elements and how all of the elements are ready to come out and play and want to play right now. So this will be an interesting story. Chris, have you got them on the line?
Yep, I'll pull both these guests in. Having said that, now these two ladies contacted me a few days ago. They are both highly connected individuals with a really interesting story. And having said that, I now can't spot. There she is. Very good. So we have joining us. In fact, I'm not sure how to pronounce. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. No worries.
Okay,
Yep.
We have joining us Sandy and Kim. Now, both Sandy and Kim are very connected to the planet, and they've got a great story about consciousness and about a co-creational exercise that they're doing that they would like a bit of assistance on, with quite a story around it. So, hi Sandy and hi Kim.
Hi. Hi, everybody. It's Kim in Panama City, Florida. Great to be here. Thank you for having us.
And this
Hi,
is
Kim.
Hi. And this is Sandy from Nashville, Florida. I live about 50 miles away from Kim, but we're in contact a lot.
Can we tame the excitement, please, Kim? No excitement on this show.
What are you trying to say, Brian?
I'm just kidding. It's awesome.
I know. And listen, just for the record, it's really, really, really hot in Northwest Florida right now. You guys were talking about
salt. Okay, salt on wounds now.
Exactly. It's really, really hot here.
Yes, but we have the most beautiful beaches. We're in the upper Gulf of Mexico, and we have the world's most beautiful beaches. And
I don't know. Excuse me. I'm from San Diego, and I do not consent to that statement.
Brian, have you been here?
No.
Well, I will counter that question. I have been everywhere because I am part of all that is, and so there's nowhere in this universe I have not been. My beaches are more beautiful. I'm just kidding. I guess I need to go though.
I think everybody has their favorite beach, and that's just okay too.
Touche.
It is indeed. But we're actually here to talk about salt today, principally, with an attached story. So probably best to let Sandy lead off and begin that process.
I guess I should start a few days back. I was listening actually to
Chris, I believe it was you and Jillian and Andrew doing a talk, having a conversation, and in that conversation, it started keying in certain data and giving me access to certain data. And it just began to start flooding in. And it had to do with the salt. And it had to do with some of the probabilities of the future that was up and coming for this coming Friday. And as I was listening to this conversation, I realized that the salt was being utilized as a very smart defensive move, for everybody to utilize salt as protection and that kind of stuff. And I got to thinking for some reason, about Heather, and I realized that Heather was really more of an offensive person. What she did was very offensive. And I thought, well, I just felt like that there was a way to do this offensively, to utilize something that was going on here. I didn't know where this was going. It was just all these thought patterns. So I decided to call Jillian, and I asked him about the probability of future, because my understanding is that when you look at it, it's that particular point in time with the variables that are at play at that given moment. And because we're sort of making this up as we go along right now, it was easy to understand that, you could add different variables in there and change probability, because after all, it's just energy in motion, which is always change. So I called Julian to ask him if that was sort of what he was seeing it, and he said yes. So then when I got off the phone, I had this thought pattern that started coming in, and I realized it was the consciousness of salt. And it said it was kind of depressed. It felt like it had been, just like the rest of us, kind of hijacked, and that it was the product of a smear campaign. And I was connecting heart to heart with it and feeling this and going, wow, you think about it, that's probably true, because, the campaign is, if you eat too much salt, you're going to have a heart attack and die. And so what do? In all our foods and everywhere, there's this overabundance of salt to, aggravate the situation. So I thought, okay. So I said to salt, what do we need to do? And so I saw where salt was that crystalline factor within us, because after all, salt's a crystal, and that it's within us, it's in the air, it's in the food we eat, it's in the water we drink, it's everywhere. And I thought, oh my goodness. I said, let's just go out there and see what we can do with salt. And that in the conversation, I believe, Chris, if you can back me up on this, the conversation is that salt was also a neutralizer. And I thought, well, if there was a way to utilize salt, and if it was in cooperation here, which it was giving me every indication it was, to change its story, it actually wanted to earn back its street cred, basically. And so it wanted to be able to be a part of changing a probability that's been put out there and maybe changing the focus on it. And so I can be a little creative sometimes, so that's when I got on the phone with Bill Ballard and spoke with him, and he said I needed to speak to a friend of his there in Melbourne. Her name's Daniela, and then when I got off the phone, then I called you, Chris, and talked to you about it, and why I wanted to get your impression and how you felt about it, and so we had a very nice conversation.
Mm.
And then,
Principally, it related to the release of parasites on the internet.
Right.
On the 21st, which
yes.
is a very very nasty thing to do. Now you had some higher guidance about that as well. That doing something to deliberately forestall it was acceptable because
exactly.
of the manner in which this release was being carried out.
Yes, and to share with everyone, as I understand it, that at the harmonic convergence, the law that came down was that anything that was already set into motion would be allowed to play out unless it was discovered. And when it was discovered, it had to stop, and it could not be restarted, nor anything could be newly created after the harmonic convergence. That was the cutoff. So all along, everybody all over the world's been doing their thing, and we've been catching them and all this different thing. That's why all this data's coming out, and Heather, brought all that stuff out, which is just fabulous, and everybody else, everything's coming exposed now.
Yeah.
Sure
just to clarify, when was the harmonic convergence?
It was, please.
87? You mean the one in
87? Yeah, that's what 87. Yeah.
87.
Yeah. I believe it was August of 87, but I'm sure someone has more of a memory on that. My data's a little fuzzy there
already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had this tech. They obviously had this technology, this parasite technology, before 1987. Then.
It's my understanding from the conversation I had with Salt that a lot of this was instigated around the turn of the century when the new banking system was being concocted and all that kind of stuff. So it was part of the programming. I could be a little fuzzy on that. That was sort of my understanding on it. I'm sure if someone else had any more information, I'd be happy to step aside on that part of it. That, like I said, that was just my conversation and how I felt that it was kind of being laid out, the look of it. So what I did was then I started getting on the phone to everybody and, just sort of making everyone aware of that, Salt wanted to work with us and have this experience. So this morning, I spoke with Daniela, and immediately when I mentioned to her about what I was speaking with Bill Ballard about and everyone else, she immediately jumped in and go, my expertise has to do with off-world entities and things and working with them and getting them readjusted. And I said, exactly, that's why I needed to speak with you. So we were, I guess you could say, sort of remote view teleported out together at that point. It was not anything I was expecting, but it was not anything that was uncomfortable. It was very pleasant. It was like this was our job and this is what we needed to do. And the first thing that she saw, which I saw equally, was this sort of a crystalline structure, and above it was this sort of a red entity kind of person, and above it was this single stream of energy that was connected to something much higher. We weren't allowed at that particular moment to look at the higher entities, but we were allowed to look there. The crystalline structure that this one was sitting on had 7 rays coming out of it, which are the 7 spectrums in the prism, right? So, and they were being generated at a velocity that made them very hard and very sharp. So that actually was something that possibly at some point we had agreed to in order to give us the ability to delve down more into the 3D experience further. Or maybe that sort of got created to make us go down more into the 3D experience. It's depending on how you want to really look at it. But so when we really started looking at this entity and this crystalline structure, and I hope I'm painting a good enough picture so everyone can get a visual on this, that we realized that it's this red dragon. And I knew that because Jillian had just spoken about this dream that he'd had about the red dragon. And so it was all serendipitous, which to me is confirmation, I guess. And so we started working with Gaia is basically made up of this energy that is kind of referenced to as like the blue star energy. And so if you ask, you have access to that, anybody. And so I got access to this blue star energy, and we started, let me back up just a little bit. Everybody holds codes, and so you hold their codes. You know, we've talked about this before, and we hold your codes. So when you know that, you can use this energy and you can access everybody through that coding system. So the energy is just flows through in a very fluid manner because you hold their codes and they hold yours, so you can access that. I had learned this about a couple of years ago. But so we use this blue star energy and we put it in there. And honestly, guys, when you do that, it makes them look like they're in this like snow globe and it's all shook up. And they're in there going, oh, my goodness. And so the red dragon started then changing colors, and he went into more of a magenta-like color, and then a little bit deeper purpley bluey color. And currently that's about the color he's staying at. Eventually, as his consciousness comes in alignment with who he really is, because he was just playing a part, then he'll be the true color of what he really is. And
so, Sandy, just to clarify, what does the red dragon represent to you?
Just going to ask that question. So
I guess we have legends about it. The one that comes to mind would be the Hopi, the red and blue Kachina. So it's sort of that sort of energy line for those that are familiar with it. But it has to do with the polarity of how we were setting up the whole energy system, and it's
so
my understanding.
If you like, this is the process by which you were arranging to combat the release of this parasitic these parasites at the end of the week. So you're actually kind of aligning the energies to do that work. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's where it seemed like we were going. And we knew, Danielle knew immediately, all I had to do was say salt to her, and she knew exactly what we were supposed to be doing. And that's the first time I ever met her. I just call her on the phone, and here we jump into this whole story, which is fantastic because this is just the beginning of the story. There's so much more to it. It's fascinating, actually, to have been a part of it. And this was just this morning. This is what happened today.
This is the energies lining up to stop something that's off contract, that's not supposed to happen. Because you were telling me that the entities that they were going to release were modified. They weren't the original ones, so they're not allowed to do it.
Absolutely. What they had done is they sort of let's use telephones. The first ones that they released way back then were like the dial telephone. So the new ones they were going to release were more like a digital-based entity. Mm-hmm. So that constitute a whole new setup. It was a whole new
technology.
Technology, absolutely. And so, all of us, we're getting our wits about us now, so we're kind of catching these things. I'm sure I'm not the only one doing things like this. So, I mean, Lisa, you just went out in the desert and did that stuff. That's phenomenal just as well, Bob and Brian and all you guys, because opening and holding that space in those portals, to me, allows all this to give everybody access this way, more fluid access. So, kudos to you. Anyway, so it took about an hour and a half for this guy to get changed. And so Danielle, of course, I did the same thing to her that I did to Chris. I called her late at night, and so she needed to go to bed, and I needed to get on with the day. And so we signed off, and that's when I called a girlfriend of mine, Cindy, and I called Kim, and then we got together and knew that there was another part of this that we needed to go into. And I'm open for any questions. We can stop right here for a minute and take a breath and then proceed.
Mm-hmm. So the information about these guys carrying out an action that they're not allowed to do is it kind of gives us permission to be proactive in dealing with it rather than just having to let it roll out.
Absolutely.
Because they're off contract.
Absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm. And because they were discovered, in other words, the information was what Heather says, when it's brought into focus, it's relative. So because it was brought into focus, then, you can do something about it. You don't have to just sit back and go, okay, here it comes. You actually can go out there and go, excuse me, hello, let's do something about this.
I'm not going to do it. Now, you also mentioned that there was a relationship between the release of these entities and what we've called the Trolls program, where actual humans, go around all the Skype chat rooms, all the forums, anywhere there's people interacting, and just wreak havoc as much as possible. But that they were two related programs, and that if the parasite attack was actually forestalled, that it would affect the Troll program as well.
Absolutely, and I guess if Kim can come in real quick and kind of give her knowledge of how we knew about the Troll program, I think that would be quite appropriate right now.
Sure.
Okay, so I originally heard about the conversation with Julian and Andrew, about the parasites and the trolls. So I have a contact that I'm extremely close to and have known for 2 or 3 years now, and I was able to contact this person, and I can't reveal a lot about this person because he's in a very delicate situation. And so I'm sorry I can't be more transparent about that, but I can promise you that he is definitely working for the right team. And so he was able to confirm and pass enough information to myself, and then I sent it on to Sandy, and then she was immediately able to connect into just what he was saying. So that's kind of where we connected more of the dots, so to speak.
And this guy is a remote viewer for the, for
the other team.
Yeah, well, not exactly. They've sort of splintered as of late, and there's the good guys now going in cleaning up stuff, and then there's the other ones, which are the trolls that are going in there attempting to create havoc. But they've been discovered, and as we reveal the rest of the story, you're going to see, and this is where everybody, whoever's listening, this is where everybody's going to play an intricate part in this. It's going to be fun and fascinating and quite exciting. So if we'd like, we can go on and talk about the rest of it then.
Sure.
Okay. So
press on.
At noon today, this would be Central Time in the U.S., Cindy, Kim, and I did a Skype conference call. And Daniela was in dream state, but I felt her presence come in. So we figured because of the 7-ray information that we'd gotten that there needed to be 7 of us. So what we did was we all had gone outside and placed extra crystals out at our homes to hold the space for those, let's call them sisters we've yet to meet. And so we wanted to, accommodate the energy space for them to be there, so that we all stood with a ray, I guess was the feeling that we were all getting. It wasn't, just one of us, but we all felt that. So what we did was we brought everybody in, and the first thing we did was we asked salt to come into our consciousness, and it did. And then we felt the salt within us and connected with that, and then heart to heart with the salt. And then we touched hands to hand, like if you want to think of two four-sided pyramids, one sitting on top of the other one inverted and sitting on top, so it's sort of like a Merkaba kind of looking. So the 7 of us were at the 4 corners, at the top and the bottom, and one in the middle. And we all had the feeling that we should connect heart to heart and heart with the salt. So we did, and when we did, the Merkaba started spinning, and it shot us off out into space, into consciousness. And we're like, we wish we'd have had this recorded, because we're all going, whoa!
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was like being on a roller coaster ride. It was so thrilling. And it took us out to this space where we had the ability to look around. And Kim, it was you, right? That or was it Cindy?
I think I saw something at what I'm going to call right at 10 o'clock. So Sandy said, okay, go get it. So what I did was I just sent, the blue star energy after that and wrapped it in the blue star energy and the love energy, of course. And then I think the next thing we saw, Cindy saw something at, was it around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock out there? Were we at that point yet? I think you've got some notes on it. I'm not sure.
Right. So when we got closer to this entity after she wrapped it all up in this, we were all, wrapping in this energy and everything, and we got closer to it, we realized that this was the new updated version of the slugs and bugs and all the old slugs and bugs. And we're like, oh, hi, guys. And they're like,
uh-oh.
You really hate when you get caught, right? You just hate when that happens.
And so you actually were energetically in the same space as the parasites at that point.
Absolutely. And so what we did was, when you encapsulate them in the blue star energy, so it's like they're all in these little snow globes, just being all glittery, cute, and that transformed their energy. And so then what we did was we said, come home, come back to Mom, come home, and you guys played a great part. You did a great job. We love you. We appreciate everything that you allowed us to experience, and it's time for you to come home. So that's what they did. And it was just the most heartwarming feeling going out. And, I'm talking about a lot. Matter of fact, it's still kind of going on. But then what happened was Kim started feeling this friend of hers come in. So, Kim, you take it up, and then we'll go from there and talk about the trolls.
Yeah, actually, when we were there, my friend popped in, and I said, oh, there he is. And so it turns out that he was there with his team as well. And what they were doing was they were going after the trolls. And we already knew that was going to happen. We just didn't know exactly when. So he also uses the blue star energy and actually what looks like the form of glitter, okay? And we have another story we'll have to go into another time about that, and that's how we discovered the glitter. And, wow, that one was really a crazy story. But anyway, so he used that, what we call the blue star energy glitter, to pretty much disperse all of the trolls that were out there moving around.
And so what form were the trolls in?
There's an energetic body that's attached to the embodied individuals that are here. what these guys were scheduled to do, and we knew ahead of time, they were going to go out and start getting those guys to get offline. That was their job. And it just was serendipitous that at the same time we're out there coming at them through the whole, I call them the invasion of the creepy crawlers. So, we were going in after the creepy crawlers, which, we kind of figured would lead us to the trolls. And it did. So we all met there together. So it ended up to be, everybody showed up and we were all working with these guys. The ones that were at first were a little bit upset. We had to kind of calm them down. And I will tell you a funny story. What we did was we play a lot. So Salt was in there, playing as well, and we all at the same time got this idea that these little trolls would look really cute in these little pink tutus. So we started envisioning these millions of all these trolls and all in these little pink tutus. So we were just
that's a great visual, because that's going to change the way I deal with that.
Exactly. So they were getting in touch with their inner female, cutesy stuff. So that's sort of how we looked at it. And so we left Tom and we left, people in there to take a look at it and go off and take care of those guys. And then we backed back out. And when we did, then that's when our focus got directed immediately, within a matter of seconds, into another direction. And Kim, this is where Kim came in. Earlier that day, she had an event that happened that leads to this point. So I'll let her tell you.
Okay, now back up just a little bit. I got a little off track, Sandy. What did you want me to the point?
I wanted you to tell about the vision that you'd had earlier that day, which led us to why we have the vision that's going to happen next. Right?
I'm totally lost.
Okay, sorry. I'll just tell it then. Earlier that day, Kim just was, out of the clear blue sky, she was just thinking about Andrew and.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, I thought that's where you were going. I just wasn't sure. Go ahead.
Well, you go ahead now.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, I had been thinking about Andrew earlier this morning, and a vision popped in my head, kind of to the left of him. Looked like a spiral, kind of like a tornado, but more like a ribbon, and it was a white type spiral that was just spiraling up. And I mentioned it to Sandy, and Sandy says, "Oh, that's his energy or his information stream, that he gets all his data from." So we kind of left it at that. And when we were out in the ethers looking around, all of a sudden, that popped up again, and I said, "There's that energy stream again." And above that was, the way I can describe it is, if you remember all the oil spills that we've recently had, and on the beaches, these big blobs of oil, kind of of course, dark black, and it was just like this shiny black blob, and it literally had these big eyes just kind of looking around, blinking really big. Yeah. And I said, "What is this up there?" And Sandy said, "Oh, my God." She said, "It's oil, the consciousness of oil, correct? And that it is connected to politics." Is that right, Sandy?
Yes. So
is anybody else having flashes of the X-Files right now?
Yeah.
That black.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they, there's truth out there, right? And we're not saying that Andrew had this black creature attached to him at all.
No.
We believe what happened was that through Andrew we were accessing this data, so that it was, it was like gifted to us, basically. So we were kind of, because of that, we were put in alignment so that we would be allowed to be able to see this entity and be able to deal with it. So what we did was oil feels like it's kind of got the bad rap as well, joining in with salt, because, of course, there's salt and oil as well, right? I believe. I could be wrong about that. But anyway, so oil wanted to be able to play a part and get its street cred back, basically. So what it said was, ever since the beginning, oil's always been hand in hand with money and politics. So it gave us the access to be able to, what we call smurfing, because when you use the blue star energy, you're basically making everybody smurfy looking. And so we just sort of sent those energy streams out, and where salt comes into play there, because salt is basically a binding element, and with everything, air, water, us, everything, that it's sort of if you want to conjure up a picture of maybe a spider web, and salt's part of that spider web that keeps us all together and attached and physical and that kind of stuff. So at least that's my understanding. And so salt was kind of said, okay, well, I'll take off and I'll take care of this line of energy. You guys just needed to expose it, right? Because that's the rule. If you expose it, if it's discovered, then it has to stop. So it wasn't but directly right after that, then Cindy gets this little nudge, and there's this third encounter we have with this guy standing way off in the distance, and he's this little smoky gray guy, and he's jumping up and down, and he's waving, and we all turn around and we look at him, and he's going, "What about me? What about me?" And we're like, "Okay, what about you?" So all of us go over there, and we look at him, and he's just this smoky gray guy. And it becomes known to us through the smoky gray guy that he and his minion and crew are the ones that maintain the smoke screen. And that through what we were doing with them, basically smurfing them, they were going to then step aside and let transparency be more fluid. And we've blown away at that point.
So you're talking about the blocking energy to truth. Would that be a way of putting it?
Absolutely, Chris. I think that's correct. Yes, that was my impression, and I think
this is in alignment with what I was feeling is coming in what I keep calling phase 2. It's not all light and love. There's going to be a lot of darkness exposed. We've already seen a lot of darkness exposed and brought to the light. And some people look at that as evidence that the world's getting worse. For me, it's evidence that the world's getting better, because it's all of the aspects of the old paradigm that have always been there and operating in the dark. They will continue as long as once they're exposed, and then that their power over us is released. So I don't see this as doom and gloom. I don't see this as fear mongering. I actually see it as really good, positive news.
Well, it is too, also, Lisa, because when truth is brought to light and more data is on the table and more people become aware, then the range of choices that people have and how they want to respond, the options go up, increase exponentially. Because the reason why a lot of people right now they're continuing to kind of operate within the matrix is because they don't even know the matrix is. So once the matrix is exposed and everybody has a choice, then people have they're much more empowered to stand up and say, "Well, hey, hold on a second, I don't want to do it this way anymore."
Yeah, the information. You can't make choices based on no information. You don't make good choices. So, Sandy, the little grey guy, and what did you actually do for him, or with him, or to him?
We basically just thanked him and loved him for the position that he held for us to experience the smoke screen, to be behind the veil. And what a wonderful opportunity it was to have that availability, for those that wanted to experience it. Even though it sort of got moved into the part where, whether we wanted to or not, but point being that we sort of signed up for this extended master's class or doctorate class, and so we went for the whole shebang. So
I think it's important to point out too, with our partners of contrast, and Sandy and I we came up with that term because everyone kept referring to them, to the dark and the cabal, and what we felt like that was doing was actually feeding more energy into them. So when we coined the phrase partners of contrast, I guess what I'd like the audience to understand is that when we all set this up, someone had to play the contrast, okay? So these beings that played this contrast part are really ready to come home, okay? Now, granted, they've cheated and they've tried to pull some things that they weren't supposed to, just like this new parasite situation coming up. However, we promised them that in the end that we would love them back to the light. So when we go out there and we bring these entities back in, we want to love them, okay? Because we are moving into unconditional love, okay? If we want to go out there and punish them and hang them from the oak trees and things like that, in reality, we're just feeding back into that energy. So it's just very important that...
That goes back to...
I'm sorry?
Sorry. I was just going to say that feeds back into the Declaration of Satisfaction, that if all of our roles are complete, then everybody who's been playing a role in the shadows and in the darkness is now in a position to come back out, come out into the light, and that's we're going to right. And can you imagine? Because we know we are all creators, and we are here being. Okay, so these people that have played this role of contrast for us, thank you so much for what you've done. What an advanced being to volunteer to do that, okay? So that is, I just have so much love and gratitude for them, and if we can really understand that concept, that will turn this around much, much quicker. Agreed.
Yep.
So what do we do now? What do we do from here?
Well, there's just one more little part to this, or maybe a part and a half that I'd like to finish with, if that would be okay, to tie it all back together. And that is that the very fourth thing that we saw was that when Daniela and I was working with the dragon to begin with, neither her nor I noticed that his tail came detached. And it was in this vibratory, like, muck area, which would have been like a back door to be able to reseed that kind of energy back in, which was what I was kind of feeling about it. We all were. We all saw it. We all felt it. We all knew that, no, you can't do that, kind of thing. So I have a dragon friend, reptilian friend. That would make another story sometime. But he actually reattached the dragon to the dragon, helped him, and then to transform this. So in essence, what we're talking about is that was sort of the completedness of all of this. And when Daniela and I had finished the energy work this morning, we were allowed to look at the upper ship, or it really wasn't a ship, it was more of a source kind of energy flow that, beyond the sun that was coming in. And so what it was it was sort of a generating station, basically, that feeds the blue star and all of the, the energy flows for every, sort of a composite of flow for now, so as we go through these stages. And so we have more of a direct line now to all of this flow. So this is where SALT comes in. So SALT has a request for everyone out there. And the request is, if you would please recognize the SALT within, and when you do, connect with it play with it. If you have Himalayan salt or salt crystals, sea salt, whatever, any kind, doesn't matter. Even crystals work. And you can go, oh, you can be salt today, whatever. But just, follow your heart and listen to it and start playing with it and recognize it as the part within you that you are and the part that it is, with you, so that you're both in a very special place of communion, I guess you could say. And in that, what that does is that actually gives you a better access flow to your own energy. And when that happens, that means you're being in service. And we all, that's what we all want to do. That's why we're here. We want to be in service. So as that being in service, what happens is as we come together, all of us listening tonight, and we come together, it exponentially ignites our energy flow. And when that happens, it overrides the current focus that's at play, and we can change the focus. And SALT said they would be very happy to be that neutralizer, to be able to neutralize the current flows and then maybe help shift us into another perspective, the one that we've been working on. So I was like, I'm a go for that. So SALT says we have from 12:30 today, Central Time, we have about 24 hours for all this to sort of come into play. Now, what was going on was that when I went to the council to ask them to rule on whether or not they could have the new release, and that we were granted permission, us, embodiments of Earth, we were granted permission that no, they couldn't release them because it was new. And then I also asked, about, because we found them out, that it needed to be stopped. And they went in and argued that it was just a continuation of the old program. And then I re-argued, yes, but you got caught, you were discovered, so the ruling is once you're discovered, you have to stop. So we pat yourselves on the back, everybody. Our consciousness was strong enough for that ruling to come through. Woohoo! So as we embody the salt that we are, we can be salt. And have that connection with our own higher selves. It's a much more powerful. Those of us that have all done that whole pagan, all those incarnations and all that kind of stuff, can really, I think, across the world can connect with all this. I will give you one more little bit of information. What happened with Cindy was she got the information in the middle of the afternoon or the morning before we started this, and her information was that there are 4 aspects of salt, which is potassium, magnesium, sodium, and calcium. And her family has a DNA defect history with potassium salt. So because of that, we were granted unfeathered access to utilize anything that we needed. All of us are granted this, all across the world. So whatever way you'd like to use salt, or if you're having, any issues or something, then those aspects are willing to come in individually and be of service. So right when we got done, we were all checking with each other to make sure that we were okay and that everything felt complete. And Cindy said, she felt heaviness around her heart. And I said, she said, could we, Kim and I, and then of course Danielle's still in dream state, but I can communicate with her. And so we take a look at it, and we all got the same thing that was her stuff. So she goes, okay, well, she released it. She recognized it. It was part of her stuff. And then right when she did this information came through to me to tell her that was the smoke cloud that held the potassium away from her heart So that's what happened. She has a potassium deficiency in her family to where she runs very, very low in potassium. She has to constantly take it to refuel her body. And if you don't have potassium, your heart will stop.
Yeah.
So it was this huge, and we all felt it, this huge release all the way across. So that line of potassium then stepped up and said, okay, let's straighten this all out. So for us, that was confirmation that everything was coming, was going into place. She got her healing, and we were just, and the utmost state of joy when all this was over with. It was unbelievable. And I hope everybody's enjoyed this and that you will go out there and just be your little salty, sexy self.
Yeah, so, Sandy, the net result is that the events that were supposed to take place this week are not going to take place.
Exactly. That's my understanding.
There's another, I don't know whether this is in alignment with what you're saying or if it's an offshoot, but something keeps coming up for me with what you said in terms of salt being inside, a certain percentage of our bodies are made up of salt. We've been hearing for years that we're becoming crystalline in nature.
Yes.
It feels like focusing on salt and playing with salt, communicating with salt, will accelerate this process within our own DNA of becoming crystalline.
Yes.
And that's my understanding as well, Lisa. That's what I thought that was very pertinent information that I thought everyone should really know. I think it's kind of the next key that it's like woohoo.
It gives new meaning to the phrase "the salt of the earth."
Yeah,
exactly. The salt of the earth.
And exactly, Bob, because that's what we got as well. Kim says that all the time when she describes somebody. She always goes, like Billy B, she'll go, he's the salt of the earth, or when we were talking about Chris and you guys, that's what we'd say about you, that you guys are salt of the earth. So it's, I guess it's a Southern phrase.
Yeah.
So, Kim,
thank you, ladies, for sharing.
Yeah, in this process, do you get information about other things they're planning that they shouldn't be, or is it just this one particular thing that was highlighted for you, so you got information about it?
Well, yes. First of all, yes, that's true. And I don't get a lot of information because he is actually pretty far away from me, and we are highly monitored. And if too much is talked about, they shut one of us down pretty quickly. So, but we were able to go in at this particular instance and get, some confirmation, as I spoke about earlier. So,
about the trolls.
Exactly.
Exactly. And we do have confirmation from them that did happen. So it was quite exciting for us to know that. And we've had other confirmations on some of the other things that we've been doing lately, which are kind of interesting as well. But that was, that's history. So.
Now, one of the things that you commented on when we were having our discussion was that you had actually dealt with this parasite problem before. Now, am I remembering that correctly?
Excuse me? Hello? Uh-oh.
Might have lost Lisa.
Gosh.
Maybe
okay, guys.
Yeah.
Lisa
maybe her headset went dead.
Something's dropped out, so not sure what the question was she was going to ask. But yeah, look, did you have you dealt with these entities before? Because you made a comment that you thought you'd sorted this thing out some years ago.
Yes, we did some friends of mine. We did
keep
some.
Dropping.
Oh.
Can you check the?
I think she's talking to Phil, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, I just came back online.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yay!
It was just your audio that dropped out, Lisa. You still showed connected on the board.
Yeah, I can hear you guys, and I was saying, I'm here, but nothing.
Nothing. There you go.
I was just explaining, or Chris asked me if we'd had some instances with these guys before, and yes, we had. There was a series of programs that were running. They were utilizing the cell phone frequencies to transmit these frequencies of these other guys. And believe it or not, there's a mountain in Arkansas that we were traveling, and we just, of course, happened to stop at this hotel. And we don't know this till we stop at this hotel, and we're at the base of this mountain, and the base of the mountain in Arkansas is called the Blue Diamond Mountain.
Imagine that.
And so we're like, okay, we're here. So the next morning, there was 5 of us went up to the top of the mountain and stood up there and kind of sort of did a similar thing, made ourselves available to whatever was requiring our focus. And so we were defragging the cell phone and all those fragments. I think the reason why we didn't get all of them at that time was this other program that was evidently a part of it that we really didn't, I guess it was sort of in the shadows and we really didn't see it at the time. Because it's a little bit of offshoot of this, and we were just handling what we were at that particular moment, that we felt like we needed to do.
So they were transmitting these entities over the phone system at that point.
Absolutely, and in full in full knowledge of all the corporations. It was with their absolute consent, which is also part of that whole spying program that's coming out, worldwide. So,
still being exposed to becoming transparent now, sir.
Yeah. So,
thesis to any real impact.
Yeah, Lisa, you're really breaking up.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's take some callers.
Okay.
What's she trying to say, Bob? Can you translate?
She said let's take some callers. And we have area code 207.
Hello?
Area code. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, that's you.
I'm
can
sorry,
hear you.
I had to run outside. My boyfriend's sleeping. I almost fell asleep too, no offense, but this is really late for me. The show tonight is fascinating. I actually responded really strongly to all that salt talk with Julian and Andrew myself, and I filled up some bags and I found some silver and sage and all that stuff he was talking about, and actually really glad we don't have to worry about that now, though. It's pretty cool. But I did have I had a couple questions for Chris and or Bob, and a story for Chris. So I've been listening a lot to, Chris, your conversations with Julian.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure you guys can still hear me.
We can, yes, you could.
And I really, really, really love Julian. I can't really explain it. I don't know. I have extremely limited internet access where I live, so it's been like I'll have to put my laptop in my car and drive 15 miles to download a show and bring it back here and listen to it. And
all right, that's dedication.
Yeah, and I've also been listening to the Walking in Energy show, and I discovered actually tonight, which is the reason I'm talking to you, I found the phone number somehow. I've been struggling kind of looking for the phone numbers, and I realized, I can just listen to it on my phone instead of, having to go through all of that.
Yes, you can.
So that's what I was doing. and if you hang on one sec, let me grab a pen. I'm wondering if I could get the phone number to the transitioning show and the walking in energy show.
Well, any show that's on the 5D Media Network, I believe the phone number, the call-in number is the same. So that would be 646-716-4598. But for the walking in energy show, Chris, you have to know that one.
Yeah, I'll pull that one up. Lisa, I'm not sure if you're coming through very clearly there. I'm getting really garbled from you, but I'll look up the walking in energy number here.
I could hear Lisa, actually.
Okay, well that's okay. It's variable. Sometimes we can hear one another clearly, and it's good on the stream, and sometimes it's a mixture.
Brian and Bill, Brian and Bob, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
I just can't even believe I'm... Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, this is the call-in number for Walking in Energy. Okay, it's area code 347-945-6619. Okay, that's 347-945-6619, and that'll get you in.
Awesome, I got it. Thank you. But what I was going to say was I can't even believe I'm on the line right now because, you know, I've like everybody always says, I've been following since, you know, way back in December, and at that point I had somewhat irregular internet access, but I was reading the transcript for a long time before I discovered I could download the shows. So I was listening to all, you know, backed archives, especially on the IUV website. There's stuff with Julian on there. And I got to ask you, Chris, I don't know if I haven't just been looking in the right places or whatever. It seems like it's been quite a while since Julian's done some sort of update about, you know, the people in the sky situation. Because that's the whole the aspect of this whole thing that I'm most interested in. I see like 10 ships every single night or more.
Well, what happens with Julian is that, like Kim and Sandy, his attention gets pulled in different directions depending on the energetics. I'll just say we are going to do an update in the next 24 hours, and because I want to catch him before he goes to Mount Shasta, and we will be talking about those guys. So look out for it.
Yay! Okay, now my last thing, Chris, I have a cool kind of little story for you. One of the, I think it was the Collective Imagination show you were filling in while those guys were in Morocco.
Mm-hmm.
I think you did it. I'm like Julian, and my short-term memory is just gone. It's hard for me to remember yesterday, but somebody called in, and she was talking about this Native American Rolling Thunder. Do you remember that caller? She said she's like a shapeshifter and all that cool stuff, and you know, I thought that was cool. I didn't really pay much thought to it at all. And then just this past Friday, I think I got done listening to one of the shows, I don't know, and I just happened to glance over at the bookshelf, my boyfriend's bookshelf, and he's Native American. So he's got tons of books and stuff. And this bright white book, and I've looked through this shelf 20,000 times over the years, you know. And it was right there. It said Rolling Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And I pulled it out, and I read it this past weekend, and it was just loaded for me. Like, I just felt like, oh, my God. I had to share that with you because,
well, I think we've actually got Cheryl on the call as well. She's here on the list of callers. So I think the very person you're talking about is up next.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So we can bring her out.
Okay.
Tremendous. Yeah, look, there's just so many synchronicities at the moment. You know, if something jumps out at you, you better look at it because it's trying to get your attention.
Yeah, and I know the salt thing is very important, and I've been sort of on this path of like herbal, like I've been studying witchcraft for 13 years, and I don't know, it's just all coming together. You know, I completely unplugged myself from the system years ago, before I even knew anything about this stuff. And, you know, I'm only 27 years old, and I did the same thing that Brian did and a couple other people did. I quit my job at the end of March, and I've kind of been trying to, like, buy myself time, you know, because my boyfriend is starting to he's not fully on board. You know, I'm more Native American than he is, really, you know, and I'm bright white Irish redhead, but
well, sweetie, we've only got 15 minutes left, so it'd be nice to bring Cheryl out. No, that's okay. I'm glad you called. She is here and she's keen to talk.
Okay, I want to hear her talk, so I'll leave.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll just mute Mike and we'll move on to Cheryl.
Yep, thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Actually, should we bring Ken out first to do his rap song?
Yeah, bring him out.
Okay, where is he? Where is he gone? Where has he gone? 503.
Said he's hanging.
He's gone. Oh, no, I think he's gone.
Oh, no. Okay. Take the next caller, I guess.
Okay. Cheryl, is that you?
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, good. Okay. Great. Well, thanks for picking up. Yeah, that's great about the salt. And I love it about the shape-shifting because, you know, it's hard to tell if anybody, you know, I don't know. Anyway, it's great. I'm glad that people are getting off on that because that's a human capability. But it's not just that. It's also about healing and everything else. And I wanted to say one thing is that I've had a lot of really bizarre experiences all my life. I came in knowing how to shapeshift. And as a child, I used to do it. And, of course, you know, that you could never talk about that then. And but I think, you know, a lot of us, I think, are carrying this from past lives as mystical, you know, we're mystical beings. And I think we're all triggering each other. I know I started listening to Santo Spinacci. I just found him. I stumbled on him on YouTube. And some of the talks he did about the cosmos, because I didn't know a lot about the cosmos and how astrotheology works, or the cosmos, and how every planet has, you know, everything's vibration. We know that. And even light, everything, you know, every physical thing is a vibration. And the planets keep our atoms in their physical form, and they influence us. And that and among a lot of things, but that is just so amazing. I know I used to get honked off when they'd like send spacecraft up. And I think, oh, they're making a mess up there now, you know, including the Earth. But anyway, I also wanted to say I had a vision where I was I really wanted to die. I want to say this because I heard some young people talking about wanting to die, and I all of a sudden every star in the sky hooked on like a string of light onto my head, and I was like a puppet on a string, and a voice said, "You cannot leave. You have too many people to talk to. You have things you have to share." And these stars were like, they were like people or something. And so I know, anyway, this is amazing, I got to say. I'm telling you the truth when I told you guys that I really didn't know that we were going to make it here on the planet. I kept waiting for people to wake up. And you know, as much as many of us don't like what Facebook does and, you know, all these sites mining our data, we really needed them for tools to connect. And you know, OPPT and, you know, the IUV, it's so fantastic. I really feel like you know, that whole thing was so incredible. And Heather, and I saw Heather doing that. I was actually working, I had all the papers. I was working on my mortgage when she was working on cleaning up the whole system and doing I saw her doing it. And I saw the lights going on the document. And I remember after going through all my paperwork, and they were making me do all these profit and loss statements, and I was on about my second one. I was getting sick of doing them as lot because I work for myself, and so I had to add up all these receipts and all this crap. And I was thinking, this is crazy. I don't even get this. You know, how could I have to work this hard? And then, you know, they're going to probably deny me anyway. But that was interesting. But I also want to say I love it, you guys. I think everybody's ascending. I think we're, you know, the more we share, the more we put out the crazy stuff that's happened to us, where everybody's going to get epiphanies. And, you know, the other thing is this moon is important, you guys. This moon is important. So if you can do some ceremonial work with this solstice, do it. I would urge everybody to get on that because this is a big one. This is a summer solstice, and things are about to really pop. I guess you all know that too, right? And one thing, I know this isn't too much information. I just launched an Indiegogo campaign. I'm kind of, the art market, even though, you know, I do a lot of stuff, it's really tanked, and I need a laptop and a few things. So I'm going to put it in the chat room, and I'd appreciate it if y'all, I'm not asking for money, but, I mean, if there's a rich person out there that wants to give some, I'd take it. I'm one of those, I hate to share, I hate to ask, you know, but I've got to, and my laptop's about to die. I've got keys that are popping off, and so anyway, I launched an Indiegogo campaign. I wanted to say that. I love y'all. Thank you so much. And if I could get a little more organized, I could figure out how I could share more or whatever, or maybe I could be on the show with somebody and that kind of thing. So thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for calling in. And I just wanted to emphasize one of the comments you made about how we all trigger one another. And
right.
After our time together in Morocco, I've come to realize just how relevant everything is, and not to downplay memories, dreams, random thoughts. They may not necessarily be for you, but they could well be for someone else. So share. You know,
I think
no matter
you're
how
right
crazy
about
it seems.
that. You're right, and for a long time I didn't appreciate. I want to tell everybody to appreciate the little things that they come across and realize that those are big things. I agree with you. Those are really big things. All the little things, and just pay attention because it's going to lead you to your goal that's inside of you. And there's a guy named Earl Nightingale, one of the old metaphysicians from way back, and he said you are right now sitting in your own acres of diamonds. And so, you know, whenever you're feeling that, you know, you don't have anything, that's when you need to start mining your own inner gold. And I think everybody's doing a great job of that. Listen, I put my campaign in the chat room. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the commercial, you guys, but I don't know who else to... You know, I don't know how else to do. I really try not to do this, but I can't. I do this alone. So thank you, Chris. I love you. You're just the voice of wisdom and composure. And I don't know. I might have to come to Australia. I'm from California, so I'm digging that whole vibe over there. In fact, I think y'all are a little further ahead than California. I think you're a little more. I think you got it going on over there.
Yeah, well, if we do...
No, it's just me, Chris. It's just me.
Yeah, I was going to say. Look, we've had lots of discussions about Australia seems to be, if you like, out there, and we've come to the conclusions it's because of the native originals have been holding the space so well for so long. We're just a bit more awake, I think. That's the conclusion we've come to. But look, come to Australia.
I'm right
it's a great
near,
place.
Yeah, I'm right near Stone Mountain, and the Maori people told me that Stone Mountain was the sister stone to Uluru. And we did ceremonies there, and by the way, I want to let you know, I put the magnetic IUVs in a cave in Stone Mountain. I go and visit that mountain quite a bit. I actually got some photos of orbs and little green things, and I didn't even know they were there. I just was told to take some photos by my voice, that sometimes talks to me. So anyway, just I thought you guys might get a kick out of putting the paperwork on the mountain and letting it vibrate out to everyone everywhere,
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I want to say thanks, but we've got only a few minutes left, and we want to hear this song from Ken.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
okay,
Cheryl.
hopefully I've got him. Ken, is that you? Oh, hang on, no, that's not you. You moved. Okay, Ken, have we got you?
Hey, this is MC Super Ken.
Hello.
How you doing?
What's up, Ken?
What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Good. Good show.
I just listened to this track Ken sent me over today. He sent it over before, but I was in Morocco, so I can't remember if I heard it or not. But you got to hear the lyrics to this one verse that he put together. Ken, you want to plug your music a little bit before you do your verse, my man?
Sure, you guys can check it out at www.superken.com with 2 N's, and this song that I'm going to do a verse from is going to be released on iTunes and Amazon about next week.
Cool.
Wow, congrats.
All right.
Go for it. Yep.
All right, that's it.
All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
For those with ears to hear and with eyes to see, the system's been foreclosed by the OPPT, using their own code to shut down the machine. Most folks don't know what absolute freedom means. Big karma, date, toil, illegal, conceal, big pharma, big oil, big legal, big deal. I am power with no limits, I declare. I ain't running, I ain't hiding, I ain't lying, I ain't scared. The time is now for all to do and be, and take back the reins for all of humanity. Think for yourself and know how to behave, because it's up to us to stop acting like slaves. Live your own truth to others, do no harm. I said the time is now to sound the fire alarm. Like Gandhi said, you gotta be the change. Like the Brady Bunch said, you've got to rearrange. Don't fight the tide, go along for the ride. Know what you know and what you feel inside. All that seems external really lies within. We are the true embodiment of the universe then. We are the light and dark, the stars, moon, and the sun. And the absolute truth is we all really one. That all that is in the image of Creator. Cultivate the love, yo, and bless all the haters.
Woo! Nice, dude. Sorry, Bob. You got
that was
the whole.
Yeah, look, if someone said to me, make a rap about the OPPT, but put a Brady Bunch reference in there, I'd be scratching my head. Outstanding, Ken.
I have the track with the music in the background. Ken, I'm pretty sure I can put it on. If you can dub that over to a YouTube video, I'll put it on. Sure. I'll put it on the blogs and I'll share it with everybody.
Okay,
now Bob's going to do
that,
the Ewok version.
Hey, Ken, thank you so much, bro. Really appreciate your energy, man. Thanks for calling in.
Ken, we might
after
if we can use on the show as our intro every now and then.
Cool.
Play it on the One People show. Thank you. That was great.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay. Well, we're down to 2 minutes. It's been a very interesting show. We've covered a lot of territory.
We have. Huge, actually. And
are we gonna have to bump the time up to a 4-hour collective imagination show?
Dear. Many thanks to Sandy and Kim for coming on and telling their story. Gives you a real insight on how energetic work actually goes down, and the symbology of it all, and the high strangeness, as I like to say. from my perspective. It's really good to get an insight into that. So thank you, guys. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. We really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have many more stories in the future.
And I would like to thank everyone as well, because without everybody joining in here, why wouldn't we join together? Because that's what we're here to do, and it's going to just be fabulous, just fabulous. So thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Much love to you all.
Yes,
Indeed.
absolutely. Heartfelt.
Okay, thanks to Brian and Bob and Chris, as usual.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh,
Good to have you guys back on deck and doing your thing, and sounding like you've had enough sleep pretty much now, kind of.
Not quite.
Almost. Getting there.
It's funny. I'm still very much working energetically, and I just end up getting knocked out during the day, and I'm going. It's messing with my sleep routine, my sleep pattern. So I'm going with it.
Go with it.
Bye, everyone. We love you.
Good night.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
See you all next week.
See you.
Adios.
Bye. Much love.
Hasta
Bye.
luego. Sayonara. Ciao.